Hi class, I am going to talk about our coil project that we're going to be working on, and this is just one of the videos. I'll do another one, but this is just kind of to introduce the project to you. I also have a good video that I got from YouTube. His name is Neil Patterson, and I think that's a good video too to watch. But since you've been doing some pinch pots, this shouldn't be a huge, I mean, it's a little challenging, but I think you at least have some experience doing that. So by this point you have chosen your piece, and now you're gonna translate that photograph to an 8-inch high coil built pot. So just imagine that this is the photograph of your piece. Now, if it's not 8 inches tall, you could bring it to a copy machine and change the size, or you could transfer that to about 8 inches to scale. It doesn't have to be exact. You know, it can be as close as you can get it to the profile of your pot. So you're just interested in the profile. You're not interested in the, not necessarily interested in the pot as a whole when we're looking at it, because we're going to make a template. So I'm going to take this, I folded it in half, and I'm going to trim it up with a pair of scissors. And that's going to be the shape of my pot. So I'm going to take a piece of cardboard then. And this is just one of the flaps from the clay box. And then I just folded that in half. And that is really just the only thing I'm interested in, this is upside down, is this positive shape. So this is the positive of the pot. This is the negative. The positive doesn't help us because that's what we're building. What we're going to be doing here is creating a negative shape. So trace that on there. I took a utility knife, trim that away. You don't need this part anymore. That's the only thing you need. That's going to be your template for building your coil pot. Now Neil Patterson's video does the same thing. All right, and you're going to use both of our videos for reference. So I'm just going to get one started. All right, so it's going to be an 8-inch tall coil pot, and you're going to have to work your cup. You may have only put 2 coils on. This one you may have to put 10, 12, or even more. And you may have to sit, you know, depending on the humidity, this might have to sit and dry. And you can't keep adding coils. You know, say you have an example that really comes out dramatically like this. You may only be able to go an inch at a time, because if you put too much on, the weight of it's just going to collapse. And you really want to watch the thickness. All right, so this is a pinch pot. You're going to start with a pinch pot. Patterson's video, he starts with a patty of clay and builds off of it. I think this works better because it gives you almost a 2-inch pot from the start. All right, and it gives you a nice cleaner bottom. So I made a pinch pot. It's set up a little bit. I've used the paddle a little bit to try to get it close to a nice shape. Now that does not look like my pot. You know, I'm not too worried about it because we're not building this one. I'm just using this as an example. But if you wanted to start mimicking that shape of that pot, you really need to pay attention how this goes out and starts to come back in. I mean, this one, could I do that? I think at this point I could manipulate this pinch pot to start coming back in like that. As you can see what I'm doing with my hand, and I'm moving it inward like that, and I'm trying to make it go in, and I'm able to do that here. See how it's starting to get that more rounded shape that maybe this has, but you know, it's not exact, and they don't have to be exact. But we're just gonna go with it. And you can also use your paddle to manipulate the shape a little bit. This is also what's nice about the pinch pop method opposed to the one in the other video. Is I think picking it up in the beginnings and getting this bottom shape right is really important. Alright, so it's starting to come in. Now I can put a coil on this now because it's set up. But before I put a coil on it, I'm going to trim off just a little bit off the top. Because I think it's a little easier to add a coil to something that has a nice clean top like that. Alright, so you don't have a fancy banding wheel like the one in the video, but you really don't need one. I mean, it turns easy enough on this wood. If it is sticky, you could always put a little slip of paper under it, and that works too. So it's not that necessary to get that. Alright, so I'm just gonna get this a little damp. This is the only time you add water, when I'm going from this setup clay to adding soft clay. If I put a coil on, I want to put another coil on, don't add water. So I'm going to score it, make a coil here. And you've done this already, alright? So I think that I don't have to get into too much detail. But what I'm going to do is work on this for a while and get it a few inches on it, and then I'll do another video so you can kind of see where it's gone. So you can watch both videos. And I also really want people to start showing up to the online labs if you're having some issues. Rachel has a couple evenings, you know, when she sends out those emails early in the week, make sure you look at that schedule. I think it might change almost every week. So I'm going to do that, and I'm just going to tap it. I'm going to add a little bit more water here. And remember, put it just on the inside corner here, and then pinch. And you really need to pay attention to that gap. You know, I mean, if you want it to come out, you got to make sure you're holding your hand like that. If you need it to come in, sometimes I'll hold my hands like this and direct it inward. Otherwise, if you just keep coming out, you'll never get it to come back in. And that cardboard is just a guide. If you don't get it to look exactly like that piece of cardboard, the template, it's okay. Just get it close. My main concern is that people understand how to manipulate coils and get a nice clean surface and really put a good effort in rather than making something that's absolutely perfect. I like to use this tool to blend those two pieces of clay together. and then go back and use the smooth part of that tool, or your red rib. This makes a really good solid connection. I think if you can lift it up as much as possible, that's the best. If it's too fragile, you know, don't do it, of course, but at least you can see what's going on. I do the same to the inside. I'm cleaning this top, or this seam up. You want to get this stuff taken care of. You don't want it to be 6 inches tall and become very stiff down here and not be able to do anything to it. And again, I'll sometimes just get in here with the paddle. Don't hit it really hard, but all right. You know, this is not your best. I'm not following that very closely. I think what I'll do is I'll make a new template to match this. I wasn't really thinking ahead for a demo, but I will do that so I can show you how to get this to match that profile a little closer. All right, well, thank you, and I'll finish this up and get back to you. Thanks.